What is going on to the CloverTac crew and the Ghost Mafia? Welcome to the Ghost and Clover Podcast Live. This is season 2, episode 19. It's almost over, Chloe. It's almost over for this season. Obviously, we're looking forward to the next season, but it's gone by fast, my man.
Yeah, thank God, man. I'm tired of hanging out with all these losers.
I know.
Every other week. God, it's crazy.
It's such, it's one of those things where you just like, ugh, I gotta do this again.
They don't get in the chat out there and fucking participate or nothing. It's horrible.
No, they don't bring any ideas. They don't bring any comments. They just sit out there and expect us to dance for them, and I don't appreciate that.
Never once have we had a viewer suggest the topic for the show. Never once.
Not one time.
Terrible.
And like I said, I don't appreciate everyone just sitting out there with the lights on us, expecting us to entertain. Like, I want some entertainment too, damn it. So
dance.
Anyways,
dance,
monkey, dance. That's right. If you don't know who the monkey is, it's probably you. So it's probably us,
True.
So
True.
It is what it is. Like I said, welcome to the Ghost and Clover Podcast. We are sponsored and powered by EAA, the European American Armory Corporation. Our good friends over there. We're going to talk a lot more about them as the show goes on. But if you're new to the show, new to the podcast, well, I'm sorry. You must have clicked on the wrong button. We're going to try to entertain you a little bit. Obviously, we're not going to educate you very much. We are going to try to entertain you just a little bit, and maybe the next hour goes okay for you. If you're new to the show and you don't know how this runs, well, basically, Clover and I both bring in a topic that neither one of us knows about. And the third segment of the show is driven by you guys. We'll have a way for you guys to have a chance to give us a blind, random topic that as long as it doesn't get kicked off the internet, then we're okay with. Whether we know anything about it or not, we're going to spend 15 minutes on trying to talk about it. But we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Before we get going, we do want to say, if you're watching this in replay or listening to this in podcast, thank you so much. Rate, review, share, all that stuff. You can find this on the Self-Defense Radio Network and the Firearms Radio Network. Check out all your pro-gun, pro-toy podcasts over at selfdefenseradio.net and firearmsradio.net. We also, if you are watching this in replay or listening in podcast form, we do invite you to come to the live recording of this. We do record this in front of a quote-unquote live studio audience. We have a lot of, how do I put them, merry band of morons is what I want to call them a little bit. We have some great people out here. So if you're just getting into this and you're into the gun world or whatever, and you want to meet some new people, come into the live show. We invite you there. The water's warm. There's some good folks out here. So, are you deplorable, Montana? Yes, you are deplorable.
It's 2024. We're garbage now. Apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing.
Get with the times, man.
I like being deplorable.
Maybe.
There's not very far to go down. So the only thing you can is go up from deplorable, right? Well, mostly up.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Speaking of Firearms Radio Network,
yeah,
next year, season 3,
yeah,
on Firearms Radio Network, will have its own quote unquote channel over there.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to finally see that happen, because it's a little confusing the way it's set up now, just simply because of how things worked out, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it is, and but it'll be
a little easier to find next year. It looks like.
Yeah. I have nothing else to open up with, so I think it's your first topic. What are we going to talk about first?
So,
this could get interesting.
Yeah,
he's clearing his throat, folks.
This could go all over the place, but
I was supposed to.
So we obviously have alt channels, and a lot of people have alt channels for Time Down and all of that. And just out of curiosity, we spend a lot of time with the GunTuber stuff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
We're super embedded into the GunTuber stuff. If that wasn't an option, hypothetically speaking, I wanted to kind of talk about what would be the road, what niche, what genre, what would we go down that would be or could be as involved, keep us as busy, that sort of thing, as what we're doing now.
That's interesting because we both have alt channels already.
Would it even be one of those alt channels? Would it even be one of those
It
topics?
probably for
One of
me,
those,
it probably
right?
wouldn't be honestly. So
Me too.
my
Yeah.
two alt channels are a music channel and a car channel, right?
Mhm.
And I enjoy doing those. I don't
Yep.
do very much on them, but when I do, I really, really enjoy those. But if
Mhm.
I was going to start and say, okay, I want to dedicate as much time and effort as we both have in our own, gun channels, right? And done this for 8 years and done it that way.
Mhm.
Honestly, I'd probably go cooking. And I know it sounds
Mhm.
weird, because I like cooking. I'm not very good at it. I'm a foodie that doesn't know much about food, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy food, but I think it'd be fun because um, I like to cook, but I'm not a technical cook. I don't know a lot of techniques. I don't understand a lot of that stuff, and I think that I could probably have fun with a channel that takes me from the beginning, and as I'm learning different things, that can be kind of a cool thing. Now I'd probably be 800 pounds after that channel has gone on. As much as I love doing the music channel and the car channel, I think that I would probably enjoy doing a food channel because that's a huge industry, and they have conventions just like the gun industry. So I'd probably get involved in those as well.
Well, and and the car and the car and the music, I don't think are. I don't think they require as much. It doesn't seem like that requires as much involvement, right? So it'd be kind of hard to
Yeah.
have a blow off, go have fun food channel to me. Seems
Yeah,
like
and
that'd be
unless you're going to be like a Tavarish or a Matt Armstrong that do rebuilds, and that I'm not going to do a rebuild of a car because I don't know shit about mechanic work. So
yeah.
I'm not going to have a car channel about turning wrenches. That's just not me. So
Uh,
yeah, I think you're right. I think that unless you're doing rebuilds and all of that stuff, um, I don't think it's going to be. It wouldn't challenge me as much. I don't think.
yeah, it's like recipe, kitchen, getting in there, getting all the ingredients, the prep work. Oh my God, all the prep work required to
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
a food video and stuff. All the editing. Holy shit, that freaks me
yeah.
out alone because I hate editing.
See, and I
You would
do.
love it.
And can
Yeah,
you
you would love it.
imagine the fun I would have with thumbnails for food? That would be awesome too.
Well, and just the transitions and a lot of the other
Yeah,
stuff that you play around with, I'm sure. But
yeah,
but yeah, to try to do that as a blow off channel is what I'm getting at.
yeah,
It's almost to have a few food channel is almost like an all or nothing. That would almost have to be your main.
yeah. I think so too. I think, like you said, the music and the cars, I can kind of fire that up and kind of do something every now and then, just when I feel like doing it. But yeah, I think if you're going to do I think you're probably exactly right. It is an all or nothing. It's either take this seriously and do this, or don't even start. And that's probably, honestly, without even thinking about it, really, that's probably why I never started a food channel.
Yeah.
What would you do? Would you do the card collecting thing, or would you turn that into
Probably
something
not.
bigger, or what?
Probably not. And the reason is I enjoy that. I mean, it's been probably a year since I've done anything over there. Um, but probably not. I mean, you know me, I don't really follow modern sports enough to
Yeah,
know to keep up, and I don't see myself wanting to do that.
sure, sure.
So I like the whole food thing with you. Like it's just really not a thing. And I don't know that I could make it. And I don't know that I can make it work. There's only so much history has happened, right? So I don't
This
know.
is true.
I
This
don't
is
know how
true.
well you make it work on like historical level. Um, so I was thinking a couple of routes to take. I was honestly thinking, go straight up, just straight up podcast.
Yeah, like Joe
Where
Rogan-ish type or
like
Sean
a
Ryan
Rogan
type.
or Bill Maher. I really love Club Random. I was
Yeah,
watching. He dropped. Ben Shapiro was in Club Random with
I
him.
bet you
He
that was
that
an
one dropped
interesting
earlier.
one.
I'm only about 15 minutes in, but I started
Two people that
watching that
are
one early.
seemingly on
Yeah,
opposite sides of the spectrum,
yeah. You think?
but maybe not as
Um,
different as we think in some areas.
and well, they agree a lot on the woke stuff, but
Yeah, yeah,
um, but anyway, that setting, I just like the set. I just like a lot of the stuff around that.
Yeah.
So, I thought about that. Hey, set up actual studio,
Sure.
bring people in,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And, and then I got to thinking, man, there's some problems with that in that I don't know that that's as fun as what we do now. So that was a first thought, but it was pretty fleeting because of that. I thought, man, I need an industry. I need an industry around whatever I'm doing. Otherwise, you can't go to a show. You can't do any of these other things. I would probably go, and you know me well enough to know this would make sense. I would probably go tools, man. I would
I
probably
can see
become
that.
Tim the Toolman Taylor almost.
I can
That
see
would
that.
allow me to work on, to actually I work on and build a lot of stuff and do a lot of things anyway.
But you're also going to be
Um,
able to use a very wide spectrum. It's just not tools for the house. It could be tools for
mhm.
cars. It could be tools for anything and everything. So
Yeah,
it's an all encompassing. Everything has tools involved in
yeah.
it, you know.
I would probably tailor it around like a DIY type thing. I'm obviously not
Absolutely.
a professional, and a lot of the tool channels or whatever that you see, a lot of those guys are professional contractors in some way or
Mm,
another or whatever, and I'm not. So I would probably go more a DIY route, but that would allow me obviously
yeah.
to work with the tools, right? It's so.
Yeah.
And then I could do various things from automotive to woodwork to whatever it might be. And then I was also thinking, just because I'm that way, I was thinking the monetization mechanism around it too. And of course, with food, you've got that. A good lord at all the kitchen appliances and other things, right?
Yeah.
That
Oh
you've
yeah.
got, potential there with monetization and
Knives,
affiliate
pots and
marketing.
pans,
Yeah,
and
heck
I
yeah,
mean, processors. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
everything. Yeah, it's all there. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the funny
Um,
thing is, you talk about like the DIY thing, and it's going to sound crazy. I think you and I have talked about this privately, but I don't talk about it. So, my wife watches a couple different channels on YouTube, and most of them, there's one of them that she watches pretty frequently is a Japanese lady, and obviously in Japan, and she has a normal job and has a kid and all that, and but on weekends she likes DIY. She likes building stuff out of wood. She's like does like carpentry basically,
mhm,
and she
yeah,
does videos, and some of these videos will go on for like 2-3 hours, and she literally just sets up a tripod and shows every step of cutting everything and the design, and she doesn't speak at all, like at all. It's just like some soothing music in the back. Next thing you know, you realize it's been an hour and a half, and all I've done is watch this lady build some cabinets for her cat or something. But
mhm.
it's almost addicting to watch,
Yeah. That's pretty baller, man. When you can, retain somebody for an hour with no words spoken.
No words spoken. Now she has, she'll put stuff on the screen like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Now, I can't read it because I don't, read that language. But like
Right.
she says that now I'm doing this and I'm doing this and this, and
Yeah, like the
Yoko will tell
steps
me,
or
yeah, and Yoko will
whatever.
tell me what it's saying and all of that. But
Yeah.
theoretically, I'm sitting there watching her build a cabinet for 2 hours with nothing being spoken the entire time.
Wow.
Go
Yeah.
figure,
That's
huh?
that's, that's pretty neat. Yeah.
It's pretty good. And imagine if you brought your personality to that. You know what I'm saying? Like if someone's watching that with no words, imagine how good it would be with words and with someone, you could be having crazy ass conversations about topics you could be doing a freaking podcast theoretically while you're
Oh
building something,
man. Dude, you just gave me. Why don't I meld the ideas and like have DIY
That's what I'm saying. See, I
projects?
had the best ideas, just not for me,
Like
damn it.
you could have a DIY project and you bring in a guest while you're
Yeah.
doing the DIY and they can help or they can just sit over in
They
the
can help, or
or I
they
guess
could
in
just
a
sit
chair.
there and supervise.
Probably better if they helped, but that could be kind of neat, man. Even if
It
it was
could
just
be
small
fun.
little projects, yeah, that could be
I mean,
awesome.
yeah, it could be something as simple as, I don't know, anything, but yeah.
Birdhouse,
Um,
whatever.
and
Yeah.
if you don't have anyone come on, then guess what? You've done this enough. You could hold a 30-minute, 45 an hour podcast, just talking random stuff while you're building. Just, hey, these are my thoughts
Well,
today.
I don't know that anybody's doing that. And so like there's obviously there's Leno where they drive, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ones where they drive, obviously,
Yeah.
and uh, but I'm trying to think, and there's ones where they cook. I mean, I've seen
Sure.
those too.
Absolutely.
But yeah, where you've got some kind of a DIY project thing. I don't know. That's interesting, man. It could be anything. It could be working on a vehicle. It could be.
Could be anything. And it could be tailored to like what's your guest. If you bring a guest on and say, hey, what's your interest? Okay, well, let's build something in that interest, or something that like, and then they get to keep it as a thank you for coming on the podcast.
Or
they keep whatever you make or whatever.
yeah,
Or
or
they
work
sign
on
it or whatever,
work on or repair or whatever,
Sure.
uh
It could be
thing
fun.
maybe. Yeah. Oh, I like the idea of like a sign it or something. That could be something that could even be a charitable thing where,
Oh
you
yeah.
could sign it, throw it on eBay, auction it, and then give that to, or even auction it through the channel, right? And then donate that to
For
a
sure.
charity or something. Even that could be neat.
For sure. Scott out there says, I thought about doing a historical document channel and breaking them down and how much they affect our lives. That's interesting. That can be fun.
That could especially be good from a linguistics standpoint, I think, if you got
Yeah.
into that, because language, when you start going through historical documents, language changes, language evolves or whatever. And so
Yeah.
being able to point out, hey, this word doesn't mean, didn't mean what it means now. It meant
Yeah.
this. And because they use this word, this is the point they were trying to make. But yeah, getting into some of the historical, I would say not even documents, but one thing, documents are pretty easily found and pretty readily quoted already. A lot of documents.
Yeah.
One of the
The
things that
famous
would
ones are for sure.
one of the things that I think would be really neat in a channel like that, since we've covered ours, um, would be historical correspondence. I think could be very interesting
Yeah.
to pull up literal letters between historical figures and stuff, which are out there, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know of anybody that's parsing through all of that. And it
Yeah.
really helps you talk about the historical documents. You want to bring light into what was going on and what was meant and what they were trying to rectify or whatever with that historical document. Then that's when you look at the text and you look at
Yeah.
the historical correspondence between the people that wrote that document, and you start getting a better picture of things
Yeah.
that way. It's really neat.
I saw no, it's not a podcast, it's just a channel. And I don't know, it came across my feed, I don't know, a while ago. And I haven't thought about it since, but you brought the historical side of it. This guy went and looked at every inaugural speech and then looked over the next 4 years of each of those speeches and say, did they accomplish how much of their inauguration speech did they actually accomplish? And it's probably really, really boring for most people that aren't like weird history buffs like I am. But it was kind of interesting to sit there and say, okay, well, this is, the inauguration speech from Eisenhower. What did he do in those next 4 years? How much of what he wanted to do or what he said what he was going to do to accomplish and all that? It's kind of interesting because it kind of shows you how politics, how everyone goes into something saying, this is what I want to do. And then 4 years later, you sit there what they really could do, which is really interesting.
Almost like a checklist. You could do that with
states. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, absolutely. Montana Musings out there says, I'm thinking about a podcast centered around hunting and the 6.8 Western cartridge. Am I crazy? And I say yes, only because I wouldn't niche it down to just a 6.8 Western cartridge. I would do a podcast centered around hunting. Now, you could utilize the 6.8 in a lot of those different things, but if your podcast is solely about the 6.8 Western cartridge, you're limiting your audience to a very, 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 very small amount of people. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and a cartridge that could burn up, go away, become obsolete, absolutely zero people, even if there's only 10 in the world, losing all those 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that do hunting podcasts, obviously. So it would be able, I get the sentiment. Maybe a hunting podcast and center it
wildcat cartridges,
maybe around wildcats, or have a historical component to it. I don't know. I mean, there's ways that you could spin it.
And you can
I
still use a
suppose
6.8 Western a lot. I just wouldn't make it solely about that because you're narrowing your audience before you even start. That's just my opinion,
you
though.
could make that a quip, right?
Sure,
Or a what am I thinking?
a
I
weekly
don't want to say
segment or
I
a
don't want to say
segment.
I don't want to say a mascot, but like
Yeah,
a regular inside thing with the viewers, where like you always bring up 6.8 Western, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Something
And you could
along
have a
those lines.
6.8 Western update or something segment, but I wouldn't make the whole thing about the 6.8 Western or something like that. Anyways,
Load of the week, projectile of the week, or maybe
yeah,
you have people that have hunted and they've got a certain, they've got a harvest, a 6.8 harvest of the week, and maybe
yeah,
talk something like that. You could definitely incorporate it in I think in a fun way. Most of the hunting podcasts that I've heard, and I'm not a big consumer of them because of that. Um, they they're gun and gear channels, podcast essentially. Like
yeah.
that's all they really discuss. They don't
What
really,
kind of stuff
and
are you
it's,
taking with you when
are
you
they
go
taking
hunt?
hunting, right? Rather than, getting into regulations, getting into ethics, getting
Yeah,
into the actual animals and the tracking and the behavior patterns of certain animals, and things that somebody that might be looking at getting into hunting, right, for the first time or whatever.
like
Uh,
me.
like
Not that I'm looking, but
the
yes,
guns and
yeah,
gear are cool, but there's
yeah,
just so much more to it. It's a
yeah.
whole animal in and of itself, right?
And there's a
Uh,
lot of podcasts. Our good friends Chuck up at Alaskan Ballistics, he does a podcast on cartridges and ammo and different things, mostly for hunting. But like I said, there's people doing the guns and gear hunting. There's people doing the cartridge shows. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that could find a niche of talk about hunting, but the side of hunting that most people that hunt take for granted, but people like me that have never hunted could find really interesting. You know what I'm saying? That could be
right.
fun.
Speaking
Speaking
of
of hunting, yeah, go ahead.
hunting, yeah. Speaking of
Man,
hunting,
weird minds think alike.
you certainly could do some hunting with the Gerson, the goose gun.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And where can you find that goose gun at?
Pretty sure that's imported by European American Armory.
Oh, that's
Last
right.
time I
That's right.
checked, I think
That's right.
that's
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah, you guys know that our buddies over EA aren't just bringing in freaking awesome handguns. They do have some shotguns. They have other things out there for you. But as far as the handguns go, a couple of weeks ago at NASGW, they dropped their newest line of handguns, and it's the X series. And we're talking the Witness 2311. You're talking the MC14. You're talking the Regard X, and a lot of these different things. 2025, and I know there's some things coming down the line next year also. It's just going to be awesome. But that X series is pretty cool. A lot of different stuff with rails and custom triggers. And what I like about a lot of this stuff is they're going to send you the target that they test with in the box with your gun when they send them to you. But a lot of them are going to be guaranteed trigger weights, which is kind of cool as well. So they're doing a lot of cool things over at EAA.
And no, Scott, that is not a copy of the Marlin Goose. The Goose guns have Snow Goose have come to be semi-auto with really long magazine tubes, basically long barrel, long magazine tube, 3.5 chamber.
Which
Semi-auto is
you've got
kind of most
a
focused.
couple of their shotguns, don't you? I know you got at least one.
I've got the MC312 Sport. Yeah, I don't
Sport.
have the
Okay.
Goose.
Okay. You know the
Yeah,
Goose.
I had the Snow Goose from
Yeah,
Mossberg for a
that's
while.
pretty awesome.
Breaks my heart that had to go back. That was a loner, and I'm going to badmouth them for a minute, just simply because EAA powers this podcast. So fuck Mossberg. Um, but that was oh man, I got so attached. It was a wonderful shotgun. It was really nothing special as far as the action. It was just like any other, Mossberg semi-auto. But it was a loaner, and they were supposed to get me one to keep, and then that never ended up happening.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, screw them. That
Yeah.
was, I think that was a dirty play for them to get content out of me, quite honestly. And I
They
I don't
just use you
appreciate
like
that.
a $3 bill, man.
Yeah. And I say that to say that our friends over at EAA are not that way. They're straight up folks, good friends. And,
That's right.
they understand the media marketing side and all that good stuff. Um, yeah, the one thing with the EAA, it primarily the Gerson stuff, right?
Yeah.
That I hear is like they you're gonna hear hate and you're gonna hear bad mouthing from any on any company, right?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
just did it with Mossberg, right? Take it with a grain of salt. Um, but the um the proof is in the pudding, or the eating of the pudding, as Paul Harrell would say, I think. Um,
Right.
the you look at, I get so many comments that I can't find this and I can't find that and I can't find one. Well, if you can't fucking find one, they must be a reason, and the reason
Yeah.
is they're selling,
They're
right?
selling.
The
That's
reason
right.
is people like them.
That's it.
And so that's actually probably a good thing. And just a reminder, if anybody is eyeballing anything out there, best recommendation I can give, and I give it to those people all the time, is that, EAA, keep in mind, EAA is an importer, and they use a distributor model,
Hmm.
right? They don't sell directly. And so what you need to do is you need to be getting with your local gun shop. You need to be making,
And they work with
go
all
ahead.
the major ones that the
Yeah,
vast majority of gun
they do.
shops are going to order from. They work with all of them, so
They
they're
do. They
available.
do.
If they're available, then they're available.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely.
But if you can't find them, that's why. Is everybody loves them, from the Regard to the tip ups to the uh, good lord, the 2311s, the 1911s, the
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I've got
Awesome.
I've had kind of a resurgence of love for my high power. Now it's
Oh yeah.
the uh, Gerson high power PI lightweight ops.
Hmm.
God, it's like, I don't know
Yeah.
how
I've
they
got
fit
the
all that
match,
on a
and you
slide,
have the ops. Yeah.
but I got in that Streamlight TLR 7 TLR 7X sub, maybe, I don't remember.
Hmm.
Anyway, and it didn't quite fit. So I mean, I could have made it work, but so what I did is I took the TLR 7X off of my um, Kiger.
Hmm.
I just swapped them basically. I put the sub on the Kiger and the X on the Gerson high power.
Mm, yeah.
Oh man, there's just something about that PI, that little shorty PI frame and or
Oh
slide,
yeah.
and having the light on it now, and of course it's got I think a ride-on optic right now on it. But holy moly, that's such a great shooting little
Oh
handgun.
yeah.
Maybe the best, even above the FN. Maybe the best high power out there.
It's the best high power that I've shot, and I love the high power. It's easily the best high power that I've shot. Like I said, including the actual FN high power.
Yeah,
It's very easily the best clone out there, if you want to call it that or whatever.
yeah. Hey, and
Yeah,
it's Axel Foley's handgun of choice too.
this
So
is true too. This is
there's
true.
that.
Yeah, Axel left.
So yeah, big shout out, big thanks obviously to our buddies over at EAA for powering the podcast. Real quick before we get to Ghost topic, a quick reminder that the third topic tonight will be given to us by somebody out there in the live audience. So make sure you hang around for that. Make sure you are live as well. Look for the little
Right.
refresh the stream. Look for the little red button where it says live. Click on that if it's not red, so forth and so on.
And
And
you're behind.
be thinking about also what topic you would like us to attack tonight
Yeah,
beforehand. That way, if you are
absolutely.
chosen, we don't have to wait on you. So, yeah, get what do you think? What do you got? What'd you bring?
So I brought something that I have always said that I'm not one, but the older I get, they say as you get older, you get wiser, right? Because you live through different things, and your knowledge kind of accumulates throughout life, and you become wiser as you get older. And I don't necessarily think that's true, but I think that you do get your eyes open to maybe alternative thinking in certain aspects. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I find myself watching conspiracy theory channels and videos saying, damn, that makes kind of sense a little bit. You start, instead of saying, that's not,
Yeah.
no, that's right. And then you start thinking about, well, that could be.
The
Like,
best conspiracies do, though, right?
That's right. Right. So I want to talk about conspiracies. And one, do you consider yourself, and out there in the chat as well, do you consider yourself a conspiracy theorist? And if so, what's your favorite conspiracy theory that you enjoy, that you've kind of, have you ever like taken a deep dive into one and really started to kind of research it yourself?
Not really. I mean, I'm trying to think. Have I?
I haven't yet, but I'm on the verge of a couple. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's enough out there. They're like, damn, that's,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think I went all in on anything. I'm also, what gets me is the old saying that what is it? The easiest, the correct answer is usually the easiest answer.
That's true. Yeah.
Or something along that line.
Yeah.
And so I'm a pretty realistic.
The easiest
person.
answer is always the correct, or is yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, conspiracies are fun, but it's like, somebody was talking about, it's interesting you brought this up. I was in a conversation with somebody the other day because of, the hurricane season, right?
Yeah, sure.
And they were talking about the hurricanes, and of course they're listening to conspiracy stuff anyway, but,
right.
They were talking about the hurricanes, that come up, that were born in the Caribbean this year, and it was an abnormal year. And then the power of hurricanes, not necessarily, the strength, not necessarily related to the size of the hurricanes. We had some really small, but yet really powerful,
very powerful ones. Yeah.
Some weird shit going on, right? Hurricane season. And, they were talking about cloud seeding.
Okay.
And that, oh man, what do you think? Do you think the governments are clouds? And I said, well, first of all, it's even like over the land and in small areas, it's really difficult and really expensive to cloud seed.
Yep.
I said, so to try to cloud seed the biggest, most powerful natural phenomenon known to man, and I mean that arguably so. I mean, it might not be, but you get what I'm saying. Hurricanes are huge. And then not be able to really, there's a lot of prediction that would go into try to controlling the path, right? Even if you were able to make that happen, like, what's the guarantee it's even going to go where you want it to go? And, it's just like, man, by the time you add all this in, I just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at the data and you go, wow, okay, was it just a really strange year? Or like, I get where like I said, the most interesting conspiracies are the ones that it's like,
there's enough there to make you go, damn.
Yeah.
It's not proven, but there's enough there to make you go, son of a bitch. That's
just enough for you to take that reality, right? Because I know a lot of data about hurricanes and other stuff, to take that reality that, that stuff that the facts and the stuff that and there's just enough doubt that you're like,
just enough.
Is it possible?
Yeah. It's one of those, and that's where it's kind of gotten fun. And a lot of this started because of the election cycle and all the stuff that's been going on over the last, 25 years since, 9/11. There's a lot of conspiracy theories and 9/11 and post 9/11. And it's just interesting to see how different things play out and whatever. But yeah, it's one of those where, like I said, I've never considered myself a conspiracy theorist, but there are some that you just go, well, son of a bitch. Like, okay, I'm not saying that's what happened, But if it ever comes out and someone says this is what happened, like I wouldn't be surprised. Like it makes enough sense, right?
Yeah.
And I started, and one of the conspiracy theories, and I don't know if it's conspiracy theory. I don't ever be proven, but never made public. But I am a big believer in two of them. One, I do not think that Lee Harvey Oswald was the only shooter, and I don't think it was his idea. And I do believe the U.S. government knew about the attack on Pearl Harbor ahead of time and let it happen because we needed to get into the war. Those are the two that I truly believe happened.
I would, I think I'd be on board with you on both of those, and to the JFK one in specific. If anybody watched Trump on Rogan or listened to that,
fantastic podcast, by the way.
Oh, I think his one with Vance was even better. And by the way, I will go ahead and add this: if you did not watch Trump and Vance with or listen to Trump and or Vance with Theo Vaughn, those were also amazing.
I haven't watched the Theo ones yet, which would be hilarious to me. But
yeah. But
was Theo pretty serious throughout, or was he Theo?
He was Theo, so it was funny. He's a little funnier than Rogan, but
I want him to be Theo.
It was totally different conversations.
Oh, I'd imagine.
It was great conversations, but they were totally different conversations.
Yeah, I just don't want Theo to feel like he has to be something that he's not. You know what I'm saying? I just hope he stayed himself. I'm glad he did. That's good.
Yeah, and he's not quite as quick or as knowledgeable overall as Rogan seems to be either. So there's only so many roads Theo's going to go down. Which I mean, I'm saying that as a good thing because it keeps the conversations different. But with back to the JFK and Trump and Rogan, he was talking about potentially releasing that he thinks that enough of the people involved in all that have passed away at this point, and that's one of the biggest issues that's been this far with releasing a lot of that. Is that there were people still alive that were involved, that there could be threats on their life, right? There could be all kinds of other, lawsuits. There could be all kinds of other repercussions that that you open up by doing that. But my dad was there. And my dad swears up and down that the shots didn't come from the same place. There were more shots than what was reported.
Sure.
All different types of stuff. So, I for my entire life, basically, I've always thought there was more to it. And then if you look at, Oswald's family, you look at his mom in particular, you look at a lot of just the weirdness that happened with them. They were branded and demonized and everything, like they were chasing the fame and the money. And it's like, knowing what we know now, how media works, we've seen it ramp up to ungodly levels, right, in the last 10 years especially. But even prior to that, with the way the media can demonize people and how it can make them look. And it's like that was going on even back then. So then you got to question and go, man, how much of that was collusion? Like, we're going to make these people, we're going to ruin the credibility of these people, or whatever, right?
No doubt.
That's definitely a good one. Ozzy out there brings up Area 51. Area 51 is one of those that I could probably get on board with pretty easily.
100%.
Because I just find it statistically, by the numbers and the way the math works, like that something probably is out there, has been here, something's going on. Now, is that just a secret government facility that's,
the answer is yes to that too.
Well, we know it's a facility. I mean, we know that
we know that they do a lot of testing for different aircraft and different things and all that. But there's also other things there. I mean, there's no way there's not, right? Some guy was Scott was out there saying that the thing about Elvis's plane, the mob, the CIA, and FBI were all involved. There was a lot to be said because the mob was involved, different things. I don't even. I think the CIA was involved. I think it could have gone all the way as high as the executive branch of the U.S. government were involved. Would I ever say publicly that I think that LBJ had him killed? No, but I think he had to know.
Oh yeah,
I think he was 100% aware of what was going on.
LBJ. For those that aren't aware, and
He was a shady dude too.
Fellow Texan.
Fellow Texan, yes.
This is coming from a fellow Texan.
For two Texans,
he was about a half evil motherfucker.
Yeah.
He held some beliefs. He said a lot that was, back then we didn't have 24/7 news cycle or the internet or tweets that live forever. And he's done and said some stuff that, it's not on the record, except for people heard him say it, that were horrible things. And if you just look at like civil rights stuff alone, he was against civil rights until he could take credit for it.
Until he could get reelected for it.
That's what I said, until he could take credit for it.
Absolutely.
He was against it.
Absolutely.
So he blocked it, and then the first chance he got, it was, the Great Society. Let's do this. And that's the Great Society is one of the worst things that ever happened. Meaning in the way it was rolled out, not from a civil rights standpoint.
What I think would be amazing, and election is Tuesday night. I've already voted.
Me too.
I think most people know probably how I voted. It's what it is.
I voted Kamala.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, Trump wasn't on my ballot. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well,
I didn't have much of a choice, man. I was kind of forced.
Yeah. Hey, you had to do what you had to do. So, you were dead set on voting. So
we're talking conspiracies. I figure why not?
That's correct. But speaking of conspiracies and the JFK thing and RFK, right? Yeah. But what I hope to God happens is that Trump names RFK Jr. director of the CIA, that allows him to have access to all of the actual files to his family. Can you imagine the scorched earth that will happen if he ever got access to the true files?
It's looking more and more and more like RFK is going to play a role.
I think he and Tulsi are going to both play major roles in the cabinet.
He and Tulsi and Elon, all three.
Elon, But I don't know if Elon wants to be in the cabinet, but he's going to play a major role as, if nothing else, a consultant.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think RFK. I think that it's likely. RFK is going to be something to do with like health. I don't know if that's something to do with FDA. I don't know where that's going to go. But it's definitely going to be in that vein, because that's RFK's passion and that's what he's knowledgeable about, quite honestly.
Yeah.
However, him being brought into that position is going to give him clearance
to get access.
At which point he could get access. Yeah. So that is going to be interesting. I think Tulsi. I see Tulsi is probably something with foreign affairs, maybe Secretary of State.
I don't know if she's ready for Secretary of State. I mean, I think she'd do a great job. I could definitely see her to be Secretary of Defense. For sure.
That could be too. And then something to do with foreign affairs.
I think, honestly, God, I think that, and people know this, for years and years and years, I've been a Tulsi Gabbard fan, and I'm so happy that she actually officially joined the Republican Party. But I think that Tulsi is someone who may not ever be the president. But I think for the next 20 years, Tulsi Gabbard's going to be an incredibly important person within the government and within the Republican Party. She's too good at what she does, and she's too damn smart not to be involved,
And Elon is already talking about, just with what information he's had access to, he's already been talking about how, he could find something like $4 trillion worth of waste. So, those types of numbers, and from what he did with Twitter, that he can do what he says he can do.
I don't believe you have to be a citizen to be in the cabinet. I don't believe you have to be in the cabinet.
Yeah, well, they were talking about like a Bureau of Government Efficiency or something. I'm not a big fan of creating more bureaucracy. So, I don't know what all that looks like, but I'm definitely on board with him going in and trying to clean up the damn books for sure.
I don't think he can be in the cabinet either, because the cabinet is in the natural succession to the presidency, and you have to be a natural born citizen.
The cabinet is?
The cabinet members are in the succession. If something happens, that's why they had the loans.
Well, he just wouldn't be. There's been people that were there before, man. So
that's what I'm saying. I think he could be a consultant. I don't think he'd have to be an actual cabinet level.
He could. I think it would just skip him. If
okay, well, that very well could be too. Okay, that could be too.
Because he wouldn't be eligible. He's eligible to be a cabinet member, but he wouldn't be eligible to be president, and therefore he would be skipped over in that line of succession.
Yeah, that's why they have that that TV show that it was everyone died and like the right. Secretary of Agriculture took over or something like that. You know, that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are in line, Scott. They are in line under crazy situations. And the crazy situation is something crazy happens, and the Secretary of the Interior is the only one alive. It is what it is. But but yeah, you probably just to skip them. But yeah, and I don't know if you would have to give up ownership of Twitter or SpaceX or Tesla if he's the cabinet. I don't know. I don't think he does. But that'd be that player. Once again, he could be a consultant, you know, and just bring input. He could run the think tank. You know, that'd be awesome.
This is true. Yeah. We got to move on.
And, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know we can go with this forever.
Before we do that, though. Let's let everybody know, I guess, how they can pick the third and final topic of the evening. I'm working on trying to get the screen share up now, but it's pretty easy. If you're out there, if you're listening, if you would like a shot at choosing our third and final topic of the evening, just type the number 19.
Ooh, Tony Gwynn's number. Fantastic.
Out there. The 19. Type 19 in the chat. 19.
And this is brought to you by who? Oh, go ahead. You watched something on Tony Gwynn. Let's talk Tony Gwynn then.
I did just for a second while folks are typing 19 in the chat, number 1 and number 9 if you want to choose the topic. So yeah, I watched it. It wasn't very long, but it was Greg Maddux, one of the nastiest pitchers and smartest pitchers out there, talking about Tony Gwynn.
Probably the smartest pitcher ever to pitch.
And he's like, he was talking about a couple of pitches he had and where he had to land them. And unless he could do that, he had no shot. He's like the best you could do was keep Tony Gwynn to a single. He's like, that's the best. Literally, that's the best you could do. He said, you hope that there were. He says, like you hope the bases wasn't loaded when he come up, because like they were going to get a run. He was going to get a single, even if I threw the nastiest whatever I could throw, and
he was going to hit it.
He was going to get a single. Like it was just the way it was.
I saw a stat that said that Maddux, Glavine, and Smoltz in their careers combined struck out Tony Gwynn like 4 times.
Yeah.
Combined. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Dude was a beast, man. Awesome. So yeah, as everybody puts 19 in the chat, 1 and 9, because that'll give you the chance to choose the topic. Also be thinking about what you want that topic to be. This is brought to you, of course, by our friends at Monstrum Tactical.
Yeah.
And
man, speaking of Monstrum, I put the Banshee. So the Banshee's on the AR-10 now, and man,
you've got a Banshee on an AR-10.
I do.
I hope it's a 1 to 10 buy, or at least
it's 1 to 10, but I'm going to make the AR-10 into a 12.5. It's going to be a little shorty with that on there. And what reason when I wanted to put it on there first to see, is it going to handle the AR-10? And it will, and it does. It does. No doubt about it. I wasn't, I wasn't sure, but it 100% does. But that's going to be a fun little toy, is like the 12.5 308 with that 1 to 10. The Banshee's awesome. it's one of those things where I'm not continuously amazed because I've known them and I've used their products for 8 years now, or maybe 7 or whatever, but a while. But it seems like for me, every time I think, well, is this going to be any good? It's actually better than it probably should be for what the price point is. And that's what I really appreciate more than anything with Monstrum. Am I saying that it's Night Force or no, I'm not saying it's a US Optics or Night Force or Swarovski or whatever. What I will tell you is for the price that you're paying, you're not going to find much better out there for quality. And that's what I really appreciate. And I love that they're not trying to be something they're not. They own what they are, and they want to own that segment of the industry.
Yeah. Well, I always, one of the things, and it's the, I talk about the reticle in the Banshee, and Ozzy's talking about his Banshee out there.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that Monstrum Tactical, they had rings, rails,
Oh,
red dots, prisms, you name it. But I don't know. It seems like most people gravitate to the LPVOs, and the Banshee's where it's at as far as second focal plane, and then the Panzer, if you're looking for first focal plane, and but just the reticle, man, that squared out reticle with the center dot, and it's just something about that you get so used to using that, or at least I have that. You've got the whole Kentucky windage idea, and there's just something about the way that the corners are squared off and everything in that reticle to me that, if you're dealing with wind or, spin drift, whatever it might be, I don't know. There's just something about that to be able to just kind of quick adjust, off of a mark shot, with that particular reticle that I really like, as opposed to some other LBOs that just use that circle. Circle dot is to me.
And I love a circle dot, but not an LPVO. I like the BDC. I love a BDC reticle with LPVOs, and they've got a really interesting one. It's not your typical BDC reticle. It's BDC-ish, but it's different, and they kind of put their twist on reticles, which I love. Be creative with them.
Yeah, and they like playing around with those too. So let's spin this thing. What do you think?
Spin that thing. Spin it. No whammies. No whammies. No whammies.
Not spit on. Spin. Spin that thing.
Not Haktua.
Not Haktua. Yeah.
Okay. Ed Zachary out there. Eddie, what you got? We're gonna give you about 30 seconds or so. So hopefully you've already thought of your topic. And I will say this, I think I saw something not too long ago, and I don't know if it's over with, but I don't think it is. I think it's still going on till maybe through the election or so. Don't quote me on that, but I want to say that it's either the 1 to 8 or 1 to 10 Banshee is on sale for like under $150. So jump on that, folks, because it's unbelievable for that price.
And they run sales all the time. So you got a Veterans Day sale, I'm sure, coming up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Probably if nothing else. Ed, you got about, 15, 20 seconds out there. We will spin this one again because we cannot hold the show up for your topic.
I like his Pee Wee Herman bicycle as on his avatar. That's pretty. That's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty
right.
Here we go. Wes says the 1 to 10 it's on sale. So okay. Ed's got a good one.
Let's do it. Thank you for the topic, Ed. He come in under the wire too, boy.
He did. You were getting ready to spin that thing. He says LPVO or red dot and a magnifier for AR-15. So for AR-15, for me, it's a red dot, and I'm not going to throw a magnifier on there. Yeah. Just in general, right? Yeah. You can throw like a 3X. I've got my battle rifle's got, it's got a 3X magnifier on the EOTech, and that's great. I don't ever use the magnifier. But I'm also using the AR-15. I'm thinking in my mind, I know that the effective distance is probably about 800 yards, right? But for me, the max effective distance that I'm using my ARs for, and I'm talking 5.56 here, is about 300 maximum. Anything over that, I'm probably going AR-10. Okay. Yeah. and then into bolt gun and different things. So for me, I'm using a red dot, and you can throw a 3x magnifier on there, but I wouldn't. I just like a simple red dot on AR-15. I love an LPVO, but I wouldn't throw it necessarily on the AR if I had, unless it was for a specific reason. I'll let you go on and talk about yours.
Well, I'm sure they probably make them, but my opinion on a magnifier in general is fuck those things.
Yeah.
Because I've never had a good experience with one ever,
Yeah.
ever. They shift the point of impact. If you've got the ones that what do you call it? Not the quick detach, but the cantilever, whatever, that move out of the way. It's like they don't lock up the same. It's like they're loose when they do lock up.
Mine,
It's like that.
you don't like mine. It just kind of, you push a button and it rolls off to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just like the repeatability is just garbage, and I don't know. I mean, I've played around with a lot. Like they're all that way. I don't like it. I don't like the added step. I don't like the added, the added step of having to use it, I should say. And I don't like the what am I thinking? Just that having something extra there, right? You're taking up real estate and it's bulk and whatever.
Yeah.
So along that lines, I mean, if I was going to do something like that, I might look into something like what was that? The second Zero that Axion has.
Yeah, the second
Remember
Zero is
those
pretty
that are
awesome.
just like a little? It's just a little magnifier screen that flips up.
Yeah, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I would be more, and it's consistent. I do have a couple of those, and they're not the prettiest looking things. I'll be honest, but I would much prefer something like that over a traditional style magnifier.
I would say this is if you're going to want to just have a regular magnification, a 1x magnification, go red dot. If you feel like you want to use a 3x magnifier with a red dot, then go LPVO.
That's exactly what I was fixing to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
For me, I'm opposite of you.
Yeah.
And for my AR-15s, I'm probably going to be pushing a variety of ranges, and I'm going to want the magnification any damn way. So I'm going to go with probably a 1-8, or a 1-6 is probably too small. 1-4 for sure is too small. I'm probably going to want a 1-8 to a 1-10 LPVO myself.
So let me ask you this, because I know where so if I'm using an LPVO, I typically put it on like 3 power, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you run it as a 1x?
Yeah.
Or but is
Regularly.
That what you typically run it as, or do you, if you're going to use your LPVO, do you like to run it at 2 or 3x or something?
Depends on where I'm at. If I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of like 50 yards and in, I'm probably running 1x.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm probably only getting magnification past probably maybe 50 yards. And even that, I only usually run about 3/4 magnification, and that's max for me, because no matter what optic you're running, typically you'll have focal issues starting at about 3/4 of your magnification. And so that's why I say I'm going to run at least a 1-8 or a 1-10. That way I can comfortably have about a 1-6. That's completely usable with great focus and everything else. And then I've got extra magnification for spotting purposes and whatnot if I need it.
Yeah. And that's what I do. Like, it was like on my loophole or whatever for long distance. It's a 24, 8-24, but I run it at 18-20. And can I run it at 24? Sure, but I feel comfortable running it at 18-24x. On those. But on a 1-10, I have a 1-10s and 1-8s are my typically go to LPVOs, and I will very rarely ever run them at a 10x or 8x. I'll probably run them at 6. Or 8 if I have a 1-10, but it's just one of those where, if you're going to want something magnified, then do yourself a favor, Ed, and don't get a red dot with a 3x magnifier unless you are willing to spend serious money and find ones. Like my magnifier is an EOTech, and it was built to work with the EOTech, just like the optic that I have. So I know those are going to be compatible, right? But if you're just going to buy a 3x magnifier to fit on any old red dot, then just get the LPVO. You'll be much happier. That's my opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would tend to agree for different reasons, I think, but I would tend to agree.
Yeah. And
got
that's the
a
great thing is there's an optic and there's a setup loadout, if you will, for everyone and everyone's needs, everyone's wants, everyone's desires. There's something out there for everyone. That's the great thing about where our industry is right now is there are so many different choices and reticles and designs and sizes of these things. If you want a heavier one or lightweight, I mean, there's something out there for everyone if you're willing to look.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ed. Appreciate it. Mister out there is talking about the Marine Corps. So
yep, I obviously I'm an old dog, so obviously I qualify with irons. But yeah, I'm not going to sit there and be that guy that says, "Oh, the guys today they have it so easy because they have Trigicons and all that and the other." I'm not going to say that. Yeah, exactly. But it is it is something because like for me, I'm not going to go down a very dark road here or a very long road, but I've talked to people that have gone in the last 10 15 years, and they said that they were issued their rifles, their A4 M4s with M4s with a Trigicon on there. And so like that's how, like for me, I didn't know how to shoot. I learned to shoot on the M16A2, and I learned to shoot on irons, right? And I think that people like me that join the Marine Corps or any branch, but especially the Marine Corps, and they have never really shot, but they're given an optic on their M4 like right off the bat. They're really not learning how to utilize irons. Because I've asked them, did you learn how to use them? Oh no, we just use the optics. So you never had to learn the irons? Oh no, And I think that's a mistake. I don't have a problem with them issuing them the Trigicon and using the ACOG on their rifle. I have no problem with that. But I think they should also have to qualify with irons as well. Maybe not out to 500, but maybe they sit there and say, okay, at the 100 yard, instead we go like 1-3, I think it was 1-3 and 5 or something like that is where we qualified. It's been a long time, but like, let's say at the 100 yard mark, they have to qualify with irons, and then the checkpoints, the 300 and 500 yard, they can use the optic. I think that would be fair. I think that everyone should have to learn to use this irons as well, but that's just me.
Oh, I'm a big proponent of, first time firearm owners, whether we're talking about youth or coming to it later in life or whatever, learning irons first, without a doubt. I mean, visual impairment aside, of course, because that could certainly be a thing, and I don't have a problem with that. But all things being equal, vision being normal, that sort of thing. Learning those irons, man. Like I think everybody needs to learn irons for many, many multiple reasons. You never know what you're going to pick up, whether or not it's going to have an optic, whether or not that optic is going to be dialed in for you, whether or the rifle or the battery is
not out, or
like
if it breaks,
and even to the point, to an extent later on with self-defense and point shooting, I think is a thing. That's a little more advanced tactic, but you got to graduate up to that. But anyway, good. Very good topic. Very good. So
absolutely. What you got going on in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I'm saying, let's close this thing out. What do I have?
It's November, man. It's crazy. This year's flown by.
So I got the rain set in, man. This is weird. We hadn't had rain in months, and now it's rained like the last 3 days. Like,
it's supposed to rain here the next 4 days. It's really it's been
really screwed up my content because I was gonna get some cover on the range to be able to do stuff in the rain, and that the rain beat me to it. So I don't even know what to. I got tons of content on the list to get filmed and get done and get out. I can tell you that much. When that's going to happen, I don't know. We'll see. But I got quite a bit here I know that needs to be done. So I'm trying to think if there's anything. I've been trying to get a couple of like special edition podcasts going. we're creeping up. I don't know if it's going to happen before the end of the year or not, but assuming that the main channel anyway ticks that 25,000 mark, we will probably schedule a game night and
there you go.
and have a little fun at some point between now and the end of the year. Of course, we got more coming with Ghost and Clover between now and the end of the year, and some different announcements
Just
to make and
because
things to talk
we
about.
only have one more official episode does not mean we're stopping at episode 20. So just stand by for the standby.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's honestly that's about all I can think of. Like, keep tabs on the channel and the social medias and everything else, and you'll see it when it drops. Basically,
Absolutely.
Pat's asking about the cards. I
We
wish,
talked
dude.
about that, didn't we?
Yeah. So I've got.
I know you've got some cards you picked up
Dude,
in the last several months.
I spent over $100 on cards this last weekend.
Yeah.
Or what? Friday? Was it Friday? I don't remember. One day this week. I am, Pat, just so you know, I am steadily, as I find deals or this, that, and the other, I'm picking up cards and sticking them back. Talking about unopened packs for anybody that may be, or boxes or whatever, for anybody that may be wondering. So I'm steadily getting things that there will be content for that channel when I get time to actually do it again.
Yeah.
But sadly, I haven't had time to do anything, but I really do want to, because that is a true getaway for me. I enjoy it. But
I hear you.
what about you? That was me. What about you?
Just gotta, just got, now that work is finally slowing down. I'll have some time to maybe get to the range and all that. Obviously not for the first 4 days this week, 'cause it's gonna be raining until like Thursday or Friday, but it is what it is. But no, can't wait to be able to get out to the range and get some stuff done. We do have the Armed Citizen podcast live every Tuesday night. It's going to at 7:00 Central on our channel. This Tuesday, obviously, is election day, so we're probably going to have an interesting election. We're going to be covering the election while on there, and we'll have our panel, and we'll be kind of going through our own thoughts of what could happen, and kind of we did tonight. Hey, who would you like to see at Secretary of State? Who would you like to see this? And keep everyone up to date. It might be the weirdest election coverage, but we'll have fun with it. So we'll have some election coverage Tuesday night for sure. Tomorrow night, I've been to, and when I say this, it sounds weird. Literally, I've been to like hundreds of concerts in my lifetime. And I'm not saying it necessarily like just concerts, but I've been to, like, if you include like going to, seeing a live band at a club and all that, but I've been to hundreds in my lifetime. Tomorrow night, I can't, I was telling my wife this earlier, a couple days ago. I think I am at least as, if not more, excited about a concert I'm going to tomorrow night than I have in my entire life. I never thought that I would ever get to see this person ever perform. And I found out that it could be his last tour. He might be retiring after this is over. And so it's amazing. So everyone knows I'm a big fan of the Smiths. The Smiths are one of my favorite bands of all time. And if you know the Smiths or you know the new wave, 80s new wave genre, you know who the Smiths are. And you know who Morrissey is, who is the lead singer of the Smiths and all of that. I'm going to go see Morrissey tomorrow night. And it is a bucket list, like true, like legitimate, like bucket list, and that I never thought it would happen. And I just found out a few weeks ago he was coming, and obviously I went 3 seconds later and bought tickets. And so I know it sounds weird, probably people never heard of them and all that, but if you're into like new wave stuff, the Smiths basically created the new wave genre in the 80s, and Morrissey is one of the most influential people in all of music's history. And he's one of my favorite singers of all time. And I'm going to go see him tomorrow night. So that's all I can think about right now. As I keep telling, every day I wake up and tell my wife, this later on, like early on the evening, I looked at her and I said 24 hours. And she's like, the damn concert. And I said 24 hours. So yeah, it is what it is. So that's what I'm going on tomorrow night. We'll have the election coverage on the podcast on Tuesday. And I tell you what, Clove, you're talking about, you were going to build some stuff and do all that stuff and do some stuff for the range for your channel. might be an interesting concept to maybe try out the DIY podcast while you're doing that. Just saying. I'd be interested in seeing how that goes.
Good.
There you go. G wants to know how much mascara do I have to wear to the concert? Nah, that was the Cure. The Smiths, Morrissey didn't ever wear it. Now, I will say this. There will be a lot of 50-year-olds wearing jeans and Doc Martens tomorrow night. So I'll just say that. And I've got my Docs out of the closet, and we're gonna rock the Docs with jeans and all that. But yeah. Thank you as always to EAA and to Monstrum Tactical. We do appreciate them and always supporting us as friends and colleagues, but also this podcast. If you're out there, thank you for always supporting CloverTac and mine, all of our projects and channels and podcasts and all that. Just by listening and sharing and all that is fantastic. We do ask you, if you're interested, to go support our sponsors as well, which is EAA and Monstrum Tactical. We're not saying you got to go spend money with them. Would it help? 100% would help. Worst case scenario, please just go over to some of their social media on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and just leave a comment on a post saying, hey, thanks for sponsoring the Ghost and Clover podcast. It means a lot. But yeah, go check them out and go check out everything that Clover's doing over at clovertac.com. Go check out all of our stuff at ghosttactical.us or grapecrayons.com. Get you there as well. Anything else before we get out of here, Clove?
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
You sit, my sir, on a throne of lies.